The information discussed on Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money.
More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing?
Good morning. What's happening?
It's been a long time since I've sat, in a dark room by myself. I guess maybe since most of my sexual experience in high school would be like tracked that way. But other than that, and of course, there's a guy behind the glass watching me, which would be exactly like most of my sexual experiences in high school. I was getting paid early on. How you doing? What's happening up there in Tahoe, there, boy?
Oh, it's beautiful up here. I'm sitting at the beautiful Brockway Springs Resort. I got a view of the lake, a couple boats going by, some tall evergreens. It's not a bad place to be.
Now, how did I pull the short straw? And I'm down here looking at Chris's hat.
Well, when you go to Cabo and all over the world for a couple of weeks, you get to go into that dark hole down there.
Unfortunately, it wasn't a couple. This is so since last Friday, I was in Sacramento to Phoenix to Cabo to Phoenix to Seattle to Hood River to Sacramento. In 7 days. That's I don't know what the hell I was doing, but I was traveling.
That's travel for sure.
Yeah, I did. I have a travel tip for you though. You just figure out when the it's hard to time in advance because you have to figure out when the hurricane's going to come, when the hurricane's going to leave, and you have to pick the next day.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, but the day after a hurricane leaves town, it's fairly quiet around if things are still working. So it was kind of an interesting trip. I can get into that a little bit too. Just a nice little trip down with some friends for their 18th anniversary and quick in and out. That was kind of the way to go. But how are you doing? And good to be back on the radio. John Fotorero up in North Lake Tahoe.
That's right.
Are you in California or are you in Nevada?
I am in California, but I think I can't throw, but I was going to say I can almost throw something in Nevada.
Stretch your big toe out there and reach over the line, huh?
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
Brockway Springs up here for a wedding, so 18 years from now, maybe I'll be in Cabo celebrating their wedding anniversary.
Good for them. I'm sure Cabo will not look the same as it does today. Because I can tell you, I went there about 23 years ago, and it is, John, it is amazing down there. Cabo has become, really an international destination now. I should say internationally priced. Because you look at and we can get it. I want to get Chris into because he's always dying to talk. So, but you look at there's absolutely no logic between the price it costs to buy something and what you can rent for. And I'll give you an example. We stayed in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, nice one with right up by the water. And I was asking the sales guy down there who looked exceptionally bored. Hey, how much would this unit go for? And he said, about $800,000. I said, that's not bad. And he says, no, $800,000 per quarter. So if you wanted to buy the whole year, it'd be $3.2 million for a unit that probably cost us, I don't know, it was probably $800 a night to rent. I guess it was more than that because it was per couple. It's about $1,500 a night to rent. And you could get up to 3 families in it. So I'm thinking, now, who's going to spend, if you put $3.2 million in the bank, well, maybe not in the bank, you wouldn't make any interest, but if you put it somewhere and made a little bit of interest, you could rent darn near any number of nights you wanted to and still have the $3.2 million in the bank. But it was the whole concept of.
Is that our Talkin' Money tip for the day?
It is. Next to marrying Oprah.
That's right.
Then that's tip number 2 is do the quick math. But what was interesting is we started talking about why places like that are so valuable as opposed to, let's say you just said, okay, I want to buy a house up on the hill. And forget about the oceanfront part of it. The house up on the hill or other places, he said it is very common that if you are not there full time and someone will just squat in your property in Mexico, and it's extremely hard to get them out. And if they can make any claim at all that some member of their family had owned that property, like the land before you, you may never get them out. And even if you've got title insurance and all the other stuff, that's why there's such a premium on these places that are, managed, guarded,
right?
And taken care of, because it's the likelihood of maybe losing something you buy down there is possible. Now I've got friends that own stuff all over the place down there, and I've never heard that before. So maybe that was a sale. Maybe that's a really good sales pitch. Spend $3 million here so we don't squat on your property. I don't know, but it was an interesting trip, and glad to get there and glad to get back. We do start every show the same way. I'm running a little bit late here, but Mr. Christopher Lott, did you get to talk last week, Chris? Did Vince let you talk at all?
I'm pretty sure I talked at some point.
Okay. When you said we're going to break, is that the sum total of your comments?
That was about it.
Okay. So I can only imagine what's on your mind there today.
Most people should know that the Sacramento Republic are in the playoffs. I was planning on going to Vegas today, but you know what? Canceling it. I'm going to the Sacramento Republic, first playoff game in Sacramento. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Getting there 3 hours early to start drinking, and then probably getting dragged out.
This is a typical soccer experience. I'm going to get there drinking, and a game broke out after the bar fight. So I thought you were just here to cover for me. I hadn't seen you in a couple weeks. I thought maybe you missed me a little bit.
Not really.
Not really. Okay. So I've got something for you because I've been carrying this around. So we're in the NFL season. Oh, by the way, before I do that, when is the whole tour? We're going to tour Sacramento. We're going to tour Elk Grove. When is all that going on?
Next week.
Next week.
I think it's the 18th and 19th.
And is there any sort of organized event that people can, if they show up and say, wave a flag or something?
I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay.
But I'm sure that there's going to be something that people can do.
I think it'd be cool. I mean, if they're getting that many fans of the game, why wouldn't people show up and wave some banners and say, hey, check us out?
I'll go. I'll get there 3 hours early, start drinking, and then get dragged out.
And if we lose the MLS, we're going to come after you. So here you go, Chris. Here's my quiz for the day for you. These are NFL games that have nicknames. So you can either try maybe I'll go through a couple of them, see if you can recognize them or what the notable event was. The Ice Bowl.
That was Green Bay and Cowboys.
Dallas, yep. And it was the Frozen Tundra. That's the biggest one. The Heidi game. You ever heard of that?
Raiders Jets,
and the NBC switched off the game and went over to the movie Heidi. How about the Immaculate Reception?
Raiders Steelers.
Franco Harris's incredible tip pass. This one I have not heard of. The Sea of Hands. You ever ring about?
No clue.
Yeah, Miami and Oakland with Clarence Davis snatches a heave.
The Raiders are on all of these.
They are. The Hail Mary, which was Roger Staubach's pass, Dallas at Minnesota. The Ghost to the Post, that's Oakland also, but do you remember what that was about?
Nope.
I don't either. When was that? 1977, Dave Casper beats the Colts. The Holy Roller, which is also Oakland. Ken Stabler. I love Ken Stabler. Let's see, is there any other Oakland ones in here? The Drive, which is John Elway. The Fog Bowl, I don't know that, which is Soldier Field. Where's the one? The Catch, of course. The Fail Mary. You recognize that one?
No.
Green Bay at Seattle, 2012. The referee's got a Hail Mary call wrong. And the butt fumble.
Yes, that's the Jets.
New England at the Jets. And Mark Sanchez runs into his teammate. There you go. So there's all the games. So this year we'll have to see what develops. Did you get all those, John? Did you
the incarceration.
That's right.
I got all those.
They're going to have we're going to have a strike team this year, but it won't because they're on strike, because they just can't, they're not on probation. So, hey, I got a lot of stuff to cover today, as you might imagine. I've been traveling, or was gone last week. I've been covering some things, got some fun stuff. Got kind of some IRS stuff coming up, some things that some changes that are coming up. The IRS wants more of your money, so they giveth and they taketh away. Actually, they just taketh away.
When did they give us?
I don't know. They give us, when you overpay, they giveth your own money back, and not as much as you gave them. And I also some interesting numbers on franchises. Have you ever thought about maybe you've just had enough with your boss, Chris? Maybe you should be listening. You've had enough. No, not you. This is a dream place to work, I know. Others than you. And you're thinking about maybe going out and starting a business. You can start one from scratch. A couple guys have done pretty well. The one guy created an Apple, the other guy created a Google, and those worked out. One guy created a Facebook. Or you could buy a franchise. And this is one thing I guess I never would have considered, but if you're looking at buying a franchise, maybe you should look at the number of franchises that are in default. And after the break, we'll talk about some of those businesses that are on the SBA's list of the biggest default in franchises. So obviously, if they're defaulting, there's something going on there. We'll cover that as well. Got a little real estate stuff to cover, some tax issues, and we got some quiz questions today as well. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. If you want to text us, it appears to be operational at 441140. And we'll give out some Roundtable Pizza as we're in between seasons now. The concert series is all given out. The River Cats didn't make it any further this year, and the skiing hasn't started yet. I am predicting a whopping ski season this year. I just don't know where, but I'm projecting one. What's going on in your world this week, John? What'd you do all week?
All week, a couple loans, a little bit of running around. That's a good question.
What's happening? I was out a little bit traveling this week. Rates seem like they started to trickle up a little bit.
Rates were trickling up a little bit, definitely, with not much going on. So it kind of went off of technicals, and hoping that we get a little comeback next week. But rates are still very good.
They're incredible, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. I mean, when I mean up, I mean like an eighth. I mean, I'm not talking about big movements, but we've seen almost just steady. My perfect world is when they're just flat. You know, if you don't know what the rate, not as interested in what the rate is, but as long as they're just relatively stable, so someone can make a reasonable expectation that, you know, if I'm going into escrow in the next month, I have some feeling for what my payment will be. You know, that's all people ask for. Here's one thing I saw. I don't know if you caught this, John. This was emailed to me a couple weeks ago, and I have neglected to bring it up. But here's one of the changes. We're talking about the IRS. The IRS is asking for some more clarification from lenders when they report the 1098 on an annual basis. So basically, at the end of every year, if you own a home, you get a 1098. It reports how much interest you've paid, so you can use that as a deduction if you're taking deductions. The IRS is fine with that, obviously, but they want more information to come out of these reports now. They'd like to see on there is the current mortgage balance, the property taxes paid, the loan origination date, and whether that loan refinanced a prior mortgage. And what they're trying to do is ensure that those of us who have refinanced the prior mortgage and have taken equity out are living within the limits of the allowable deduction for equity removed from your home. So, and for example, the cap, theoretically, I shouldn't say theoretically, the cap, period, is $100,000 of your home equity you can take out and take the deduction for. And if you go back, this probably hasn't been a big issue the last few years, but if you go back before the meltdown, think about that, John, when people were taking, you know, all their equity out of their houses, or hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity, and buying whatever, paying off debt. I don't think it counts if you're putting the equity back in your house in terms of a remodel or some sort of improvement. You don't have an issue. But if you're taking it out for vehicles and credit cards and vacations and, you know, those kind of things that are boats and planes and trains and all the other stuff, and you're using that, you are technically only allowed to write off the interest on up to $100,000 of the equity that you've used in your home. So keep that in mind. It has been very, very difficult for the IRS to track. Most CPAs or accountants don't ask.
Right.
And so people have just written off all the interest on their lines of credit and other things as well. But going forward, that's going to change because they want more money, and they're going to get it out of you. So if you are someone who's got over $100,000 that you've used for those kind of things, you may see that. Remember, it doesn't say you can't do it. It just says that you may not be able to write off the interest on any money above $100,000. So that is a proposal that is coming up from the IRS back to the lenders to get that change going forward. I don't know if it'll make it for 2014 or not, but it is something you should be cognizant of because, think about it. Take it to the extreme. A reverse mortgage is in a lot of cases, a line of credit. There's no tax implications to that. You're using it to live off of. But you're not taking the deduction on the interest until you sell. That'll be an interesting question to see whether or not. So let's say you own a house free and clear. You take a reverse mortgage. You live in there 20 years, and you use $400,000 worth of, of interest of your own equity. Does that mean when you go to sell the place, you can't deduct that interest beyond $100,000? Those are the kind of things you have to kind of think about a little bit if you're in that ballpark. Most people are not using more than $100,000 of their equity right now. They're lucky if they've got $100,000 worth of their equity. I did see. Did you? This kind of surprised me a little bit, John. I don't know if you caught this. I'm trying to see where if I got it here.
The other thing coming up on the equity lines is a lot of them that came out almost 10 years ago are now going to be either ballooning, and we're seeing that happen. But can be essentially some complications there, whether the current investor is going to redo that loan or if you're going to have to pony up and take care of that loan.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot of them were a 10-year window, and what happens at the end of 10 years is, like John said, either it comes due, and you've got to pay it off, or in many other cases, the draw period stops, and it becomes a fully amortized 20-year fix at that point. So you think about that, for people who've been paying on those, paying interest only, maybe they're paying $300 or $400, and all of a sudden, interest only, all of a sudden they say, okay, you're done, 20-year fully amortized loan now going forward, and you go from $300 or $400 to $600 or $700. I know, Chris here has got money burning through his pocket, but most of us, don't want to have our payments double, right off the top, and not be aware of that. So those are things you got to look at. Is there some way of, consolidating that into another mortgage and getting those both fixed, or what do you do? But sticking your head in the sand won't work. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Be aware.
So, John, if you had to take a guess right now nationally, how many homes do you think percentage-wise are still underwater?
22%.
See, what was the top? The top looks like it was somewhere right around 2012. Early 2012 was probably running in that 32%. That has dipped down now. Second quarter 2014, 17% of the homes in the nation are still upside down, or roughly, just about half of what they were at the height. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. If you're honest about it, and you say, okay, from the beginning of 12 to the middle of 14. So just a little over 2 years, we've cut that number in half. That's pretty quick. I would say that's probably quicker than if you would ask me in 2012 how long is it going to take to get these things upside, right side up. I would say probably longer than that. Now, if you're one of the 17%, it's still not fast enough. But I will bet you that most of that 17%, I don't know if it says here in the article, is probably not in California. A lot of it's probably next door. If you move your foot over to Nevada, John, there are probably a few of them over there that are still upside down. So I thought that was pretty interesting because that's improving quickly, if you will. Let's do this. Let me take a quick break. When I come back, I want to talk a little bit about some of these franchise things I saw because maybe that's something you're considering. Economy seems to be getting better. Maybe it's time for you to take a step out, do your own thing, be your own boss, run your own show. It is a dream, I can tell you. I've been doing it for a while. It is a dream. Sometimes it's a bad dream, but it's always a dream. We've got
Talkin' money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing?
Doing good.
So today's the
fresh air.
Today's the 13th, right, Chris? What is this aftershock thing? Is that something the station's doing, or what is that?
Yeah, it's over at Discovery Park.
How come I didn't get tickets?
You didn't ask for tickets.
Oh, you're right. Bad Religion, Pepper, Black Label Society, and then tomorrow Rob Zombie's down there, Godsmack. Oh, man. I didn't see that. Discovery Park, Sacramento, September 13th and 14th, Aftershock 2014. John and I didn't get our tickets, so I guess we won't be emceeing the event, but we'll be like Chris. We'll be there 3 hours in advance getting drunk, and then we'll just won't get in. And nobody will know the difference. Hey,
and then we'll go to the soccer game.
Then we'll go to the soccer game, right, after we are passed out. So we did get a couple winners on our quiz question. If you were from the 209-403 or 531-601, text us back your name and address. We'll send you out some Roundtable Pizza gift certificates and our admiration for calling in today. Got a lot of calls. A lot of them were. Did you have an answer, John? Did you know what the $180,000 BMW did?
I do not. Tell me, please.
We had it drives itself. It's electric. No, they're not doing the drive itself yet one, although I think that's probably down the road a little bit. This one, and I used Russia as a kind of little bit of a hint there. This is the lead into the article. So this is murders and kidnappings are less common than they used to be in Russia, as the United Nations data has it. But Moscow is still where the world's top automakers prefer to show off their latest bulletproof cars. Bulletproof. This year's motor show in Russia's capital is Germany's BMW, hoping to win over well-heeled, security-conscious customers with the armored version of its X5 sport utility vehicle, which is AK-47 proof.
That's why Germ drives that X5.
But he got the one that had the cotton proof. This is all cotton, so it'll go right. You can hit him with a dart, and his will work. So yeah, $180,000. Hey, if you're concerned about AK-47 rounds going through your skull, then that might be a reasonable purchase at $180,000. That thing has got to weigh. I mean, it's got to have some sort of an upgraded engine. It's got to weigh a ton. But there you go. So spend your $180,000 getting. It would surely give you the presence to run around town and give your finger to everybody you want. You could,
absolutely.
You could drive like Chris does it anyway, but we could drive in the car because we would be taking flack and nobody would know. It does still crack your window though. You got to replace the window after the AK-40 goes through it. I was speaking.
Jeff, you had, but in here, hey, I was at the Zillow Select Summit, with the famous Zestimate.
Yeah.
And the economic analyst, you were talking before we went on break about values and where we're coming back in Sacramento, but he had suggested that it'll take a full 7 to 10 years to get back to the 2006 values that we were. So if you think about the penultimate 2006. 7 to 10 years to get there, so another couple years to maybe get to that point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with how you get there. If you're running up with some sort of exuberance that doesn't have any sort of merit behind it, then you come crashing back down.
Right.
If your values are going up because there's more people coming to your community. There's less new construction, those type of incomes and jobs are increasing. Those kind of things that are real good baselines for fundamental increases in value. Then so be it. But if we're talking about some sort of half-assed run up in values again like we had before, I'll pass. And I think all of us will, unless because what we're all going to do is we're all going to sell at the same time. We're going to increase the downside even further. So, yeah, I think. I mean, I was in Seattle on I guess it was Thursday, and it's what's so funny about whenever I go to Seattle is it's never rained on me in Seattle one time. And it's maybe been overcast one time. And every time I go up there, I go, what are you guys complaining about? This place is phenomenal.
Gorgeous, right?
But there was an interesting little article in the paper there, and they were using the United Van Lines, who does all the moving for people. They do their own survey of people moving in and moving out, all kinds of communities. You can find it for any community. They did one for Seattle, and the article was, people in Seattle are always complaining about Californians coming up there. But this was the first year, or their first survey in quite a while, where there was 57% of the people were going from Seattle out to, and then California was the number one, different cities in California was the number one, place to go. So despite our issues, some of which are man-made and some of which are, lack of water and other things, we still are a prime destination for people who want to retire and move and live in good weather. I mean, let's face it. At some point in time, you get tired of the rain and you get tired of other things as well. And so, California, I think, will always have an appeal, and thus always have hopefully a readily growing valuation of its homes and appreciation that we can count on as we live in places. And that's why I John, you do the same thing. I stress so much to particularly our first time buyers who say, well, that's I don't see myself living in that house forever. I don't want to live there forever. That's not the right neighborhood for me, or that's not quite ideal for me. And I said, you know what? Nobody lives in their house forever, for the most part. What you need to do is get into something so that you can begin to accumulate some appreciation, money that's working while you're working. Things that are picking you up and carrying you along. That's how you're going to get into the next house, which is a whole lot better than this one, or into the dream house. You need some help. You can't simply work more hours. You need some help with the market to pick you up and carry you along. So get it. I'm not saying buy something you can't.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere for sure.
Don't buy something you can't stand, and certainly don't buy something you can't afford. But get into, if you can, get into something that may not be the end all for you, but at least it's something that allows you to participate in the growth. It's it's quote unquote free money, if you can figure out a way to get in. So anyway, that's a good point, John. Here's one I saw. I was. Do you want to take a guess for the anybody familiar with I just went mind blank on it. New York City, Soho district in New York City. They're building a new condo complex down there, which does not include parking. What is the price for underground off-street parking for one stall in this condo subdivision? It will be, in fact, the highest price ever paid when they sell them. You want to take a guess there, John?
Per month?
No, price to own it. Purchase price for one parking spot.
$500,000.
$100,000, or as we like to call it, $250 a tire. Make it sound better.
$250 a tire.
Well, I guess if you're riding a motorcycle, then it's $500 a tire. $1 million if you want to buy the condo upstairs. The parking garage downstairs is just as much money, and in some cases more, for one vehicle. And thus you can see why people in New York don't have a vehicle. Not only is it impossible to drive around town, there's no place to put it.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm just going to buy a place here at Brockway Springs, and then now that Elon Musk has got his $5 billion car battery gigafactory going in Carson City, I'll just drive there every day.
Yeah, where are you going to go? Are you going to go make batteries, or are you just going to go buy the car?
I'm going to make batteries.
You make batteries?
22,000 new jobs coming up.
Well, it's probably not a bad job.
Maybe.
Not a bad job. Speaking of, I want to get. How are we doing on time? Because I want to get into this this list. You know what? Let's take
quick.
Yeah, we're flipping along here. Let's. For those of you that did win our quiz question, if you want to text us back, if you answer bulletproof, you want to text us back your name and address, we can get you out some Round Table Pizza gift certificates. And if you're texting going forward, you can make sure you give us your name and address if you want those sent out to you as well. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the top franchise defaulters. If you're thinking about getting into the business of any other business that's a franchise, and they have their own challenges and their own benefits as well, for sure. I did see that. Did anybody else catch this too? The IRS is now going to tax you on your lunch if you are provided a meal by your employer. This is very common in the Silicon Valley, not so common up here. But if you're given lunches and free food, you're now probably going to get that on your tax W-2 as well going forward, because the IRS doesn't want you to write off more than $100,000. They don't want you to eat. So
the company is going to write it off as an expense.
No, the company's been writing it off as an expense. Right. But what the IRS is saying is, okay, if it's an expense for you, then it's a benefit for somebody else. So for those of you that are billing up to the lunch bar there, we're going to make you declare, 1/365th for how many people in the company. Your fair share of the cost. We're going to add it to your income. So I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can opt out of eating there or not. But the food looks good, at least in the picture. So they're coming after you, John.
The veggie burgers we get in the back.
The frozen veggie burger in the freezer. If you throw it, right. It's okay if you eat it frozen, but if you have to heat it up, you're going to get taxed on it. Speaking of spending some money, here's my next quiz question for the morning. This one, honestly, I would never get, and maybe it's just not that hard. So here you go. In 2013, out shopping for clothes. I have a wife and 3 daughters. There's a fair amount of that goes on in our neighborhood. But clothes shopping is down a little bit in 2013. What is the average number of garments per person purchased in a year? So how many pieces of clothing or garments does a person buy in a year? I can tell you for me personally, it's about 5.
I was going to say, is that male or female?
It's average across the board. So I'll tell you, on average, they spend about $907 a person per year. But how many garments? So I don't know, is a pair of socks considered one, or is it 2? Chris probably goes with 3 soccer shirts. That's about it.
2 away and home.
And a pack of Fruit of Looms.
Yeah, a pack of Fruit of Looms. Yeah, that was last century, John. He's it's not 2020 yet. So there you go. There's our quiz question for the morning. 339-1140, or you can text me at 441140. How many garments on average does a person in the United States buy per year? If you know the answer to that, we'll give you some Round Table Pizza. And we'll also look at you with a funny look out of our eye. Like, how does you know that?
That's right.
What are you doing at the mall so much? Anyway, this is Talkin' Money. John Fotorero is up in Lake Tahoe. I am on the gorgeous Madison Avenue Strip. This is Talkin' Money. We're going to be
right back, Jack.
Talkin' Money!
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Wake up.
We're up.
Wake up. That'll get you going in the morning. How are you doing? Final segment of the day. Jeff Tarbell, John Fotorero up in the beautiful North Lake Tahoe area. I am in the less desirable Madison Avenue area. Our quiz question, I'm going to leave that out there for just a minute. We're getting a lot of answers, but they're low, which is what I would guess. So my question was, in 2013, shoppers bought approximately how many garments per person, spending about $907 per year? We're getting stuff in the low 20s and 30s, and it's more than that.
I got to guess.
Yeah. Oh, you got a winner?
No, I have an idea.
Okay.
68 garments.
Did you do some math or something? Did you divide 907 by something? And I think that if you looked at it, say, okay, about $1,000, and if a garment's $30, $40, $50, it puts you in the 20 to 30 range. That would be kind of my guess. But the average, Chris said we did get a winner at 64 garments. So you're pretty close there, John. So the designer Misha Nono advises customers reserve 75% of their wardrobe for basics and 25% for special pieces. I don't have anything that would be considered a special piece of wardrobe. Unless that's like just clean underwear or a shirt. I mean, other than that, I don't know what else would be so special about. I don't have a lot of home and away jerseys like Chris does. There comes in the one of the 60s. So, hey, John,
I saw a ranking here that says most people throw away about 10 pounds of garments per year.
Yeah, I hope they don't throw them away because
they donate.
Because all that cotton and stuff gets reused, and you end up buying it back as another garment a couple years later. You just didn't recognize it. Speaking of shopping, John, the Knuckle Buster is coming back.
Is that right?
Yeah, do you know what the Knuckle Buster is?
I do not.
Everybody knows what the Knuckle Buster is.
Except for me.
Well, when I describe it to you, you'll know what it is. Anybody in retail knows what the Knuckle Buster is. Remember when they used to take your credit card and they put it in that little machine and they go shing, shing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Knuckle Buster, because the guy who's...
Okay, because you get them caught on the edge.
They get their knuckles smashed. They have sold more Knuckle Busters in the preceding 6 months than they have sold in the last, I don't know how many years it goes back. Why? Because all these electronic breaches of, you name it, the Targets, and I mean everybody, it seems like it's had some sort of electronic breach where their electronic credit card information is being stolen. That a lot of companies and stores are going back to just the old-fashioned, give me your card or I'll zip it through the machine here and I will not upload it electronically.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? There's like
the paperless society is now going back to...
Yeah. I mean, and that's a significant disadvantage for the retailer, and I'm not one, but I know that the money is instantly transferred to their account. The accounting for it is so much easier. You don't have to carry around, blah blah blah. You name it, all the benefits for getting away from the Knuckle Buster, but it's coming back. Now I know they've sold more in the last 6 months than they have the last few years. That means they could have maybe sold like 50 as opposed to 5, but it made enough to register on the Wall Street Journal's article saying, you want true credit card security, then use this machine. Of course, you remember, I think all the numbers show up on the piece of paper, and then the piece of paper can get handed off to somebody. Now your numbers are on paper rather than on the internet, which is a slower way of stealing it, but nonetheless. So if you see the Knuckle Buster next time, it's maybe not because their machine is down, and maybe because they don't want to upload your information on the machine. Speaking of retail and franchising, you ever thought about becoming a franchisee? Start your own business? What would you, Chris? What would you, if you could start any existing business, franchise, not franchise? Which one would you? What would you want?
I don't know, something with beer.
I almost used the bad word there. That doesn't surprise me. Something with beer. Okay, so one of the breweries. John, what would you take if you could take any kind of? And I'm not talking about like Honda or something like a franchise. You say, okay, I could do that.
Yeah, like a Subway, a Pizza Hut.
Yeah, something. Sunglass
Hut.
I'll tell you the one I looked into, which is not a franchise. I looked into Chipotle.
Ace Hardware.
Oh, yeah. I did look into Ace. Actually, we get very close to my brother-in-law to doing a couple Aces. Just the timing wasn't right. Great, I love Ace. But I wanted to do a Chipotle because there in some spots around some different high schools and things there aren't any. But they're not a franchise. They won't do that. So what would yours be, John?
I'm not sure.
Nothing stands out. Well, let me give you the list.
I know there's. I looked at something previously. Oh, actually, it was something in the bagel industry.
Okay.
Bagels.
You looked into doing that, or you saw that go?
I did look into doing it a little bit. But
okay.
The overhead and thought of that was a lot of bagels.
Yeah, it's a lot of bagels. I came very close early on before I got in the mortgage business. I came very close to doing a Yamaha dealership for motorcycles. But again, the thought of having a couple $1 million in equipment sitting there, in a recession with nobody wanting to buy my motorcycles made me a little bit uneasy at night.
I finally figured it out, what I'd want to franchise.
Okay.
Dunkin' Donuts in Sacramento.
Well, and I'll tell you this right now. Mm-hmm. I years ago put my name on the list for Dunkin' Donuts. They called me. They said, we want to talk to you about doing a Dunkin' Donuts in Sacramento. This was in the last year. And two things happened. One, I went to a Dunkin' Donuts in Chicago, and I didn't like it. Two, Dunkin' Donuts wanted me to do 10 franchises locally.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And I would have, you figure something close to $1 million a piece. I would have needed somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million, and I was just about $10 million short of that. So, but I did actually was on that list for years. I mean, they would keep sending me, "Are you interested?" Yes, yes, yes. And then so you will see Dunkin' Donuts in Sacramento soon. They're already.
They just got into California.
Yeah, so
you have to go to Southern California.
They're coming. McDonald's is one of the most popular franchises out there, and they are not on the list of ones that are going bankrupt, but they are having some issues with they're having a hard time attracting younger kids to McDonald's, and I don't know whether it's because the parents won't bring them. And the article also suggested the kids are going to Chipotle instead. Places like that where they would
go there too.
What they call fast casual as opposed to fast food. So McDonald's sales are trailing off a little bit I don't know the last time I've been to McDonald's. And I love their French fries. I mean, they have the best fries in the world, but I haven't been there in a while. So here's my list. Maybe you want to take a guess, Chris or John? Let's see here. 1, 2, so there's 10 on this list. Anybody want to take a guess on the franchise that is having the most defaults with SBA? So I took out a loan to do this franchise, and it's on the list. And you have to, by the way, they have to have over 100,000 stores. No, over 100 more loans on this. So you want to take a guess, either one of you?
Total guesses, I'm going to say Subway.
Subway, no way. Subway is probably toward the top of the most successful.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden is not a franchise.
Oh.
Olive Garden is owned by the Darden, the group, so that's not a franchise.
Radio Shack is corporate owned, right?
Radio Shack's corporate owned. A couple of them I haven't heard of, but there's a couple of them. I'll start with the bottom. Cartridge World. I am familiar with that because I actually have a client that owns a Cartridge World location. They do a lot of the laser printer cartridges. The other one that's very similar to that is like the battery one, but the battery one's not on this list. The couple that surprised me that get sold a lot that are not doing well, Sylvan Learning Center and Huntington Learning Center. Huntington Learning Center is number 2 on the list. These are failures, or defaults, I should say. Defaults to SBA, highest percentage of defaults. Minuteman Press, Amco Transmissions. I did not know Amco Transmissions was a franchise. Curves International. Curves, I think, is that a gym, like a ladies' gym?
It's a female gym, I think.
Yeah, Quiznos is on there. I'm trying to think. Are there any open Quiznos around here anymore? I don't think there are.
I think there's one on Marconi and Waddish.
It's still open?
I'm not sure. I've not been in that area lately.
And then the number 1 is not one I'm not familiar with. It's Planet Beach, and I don't know what that is.
Tanning. It's a tanning salon.
Tanning salon. Okay, so their default ratio is 41%.
Yeah.
Default ratio. And these aren't big numbers in terms of defaults. I mean, they've lost about $10 million on that. But these are all numbers. These are SBA loans. This means these are taxpayers are going to be funding the. No, these are small numbers. This is nothing like the homeowner world. But anyway, there you go. There's the list of businesses that have had fairly high default rate percentages. And it doesn't mean the business is bad. It could be bad management. But after a while, you just have to say, okay, there's some common number here. So if you're thinking,
does it list the top?
It does not.
Franchises?
It does not.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I'll bet you that Subway is on the top, that list of top, and I believe McDonald's is too. McDonald's is very difficult to get a franchise for, but maybe not. Maybe going forward it'll be a little easier. But yeah, I don't have the list of top franchises, and I should have printed that out and looked that up. But how are we doing on time here, Chris? I don't want to blow through your day here.
Getting close. Probably 3 or 4 minutes.
Speaking of eating and buying things, Google bought something this week. See these. John, we should have started Google, John.
We should have done a lot of things, Jeff.
I know. What was the other one we were going to do? We were going to do it was the offshoot of what was it? Oh, God,
Goober?
Yeah, Goober. Yeah, we were going to do Goober. I guess we could do Goggle. And we might be a little bit behind the 8 ball on this one, John. So Google bought Lift Labs this week. You may know what Lift Labs do? Not internet-based. It's something you never would have thought of this. Lift Labs, one of the products they make is makes the Liftware Stabilizer, and it's a device that helps people with Parkinson's disease eat. And basically, I don't know if you can see that picture, guys. It's kind of a spoon that looks like it, if you will, if it offsets the shaking, so that the spoon end of the implement stays stable if your hand is moving. And forget Parkinson's. Just put me on an airplane if I have to. I mean, if that would help me, I could think of any number of things where you could do that. So they bought Lift Labs this week, just continuing to push into hardware type devices. I mean, they bought Nest. Was that this year or was that last year when they bought Nest? Anybody else have a Nest? I have a Nest. So when did they do that? The connected home, $3.2 billion for Nest. Nest is awesome. If you don't have a Nest thermostat, look for them in the hardware store. You hook them up. They're all digital. I can go online from anywhere in the world, and I can adjust the thermostat. I can turn them off. I can preheat the house. I can cool them down. I can do it all off the app on my phone. And Google bought Nest earlier this year too. So they're trying to get into, these really niche, cool hardware-related items, getting their money out of the, so they're not in the internet entirely, and getting back into some other products. I think that's just, I guess if you have all the money in the world, why not buy some really fun stuff, huh? I did see this. So John, you were mentioning up about the battery group up in Nevada.
Yes.
Why am I going blank on their name now?
Elon Musk, Tesla.
Tesla, thank you. Tesla moved up to is going to propose a new battery facility in Nevada, and obviously they wanted to do that. The Californians wanted them to do that here desperately. But I did see a move on. This is August 28th, so relatively recently. I don't know if this is passed yet or not. But there is a boost in the California legislature to put a $330 million a year commitment, tax incentive commitment out to retain one of the biggest businesses that has left California. What is California known for in business other than tech? Think Hollywood, think movies.
Movie industry.
Movie industry. They're trying to compete with Georgia and New York and other states who have put up some pretty big tax incentives. They're trying to get California to be back in the movie business.
I think New Orleans is down there too.
Yeah, they probably $330 million. I don't know if this is a one-time shot or annually. Doesn't say. Worked for more than a year to update the 2009 law that offered $100 million. Oh, yeah, here you go, $100 million. So they've been giving $100 million a year since 2009. They're going to triple that, and Governor Brown is expected to sign that. The revised program, trying to get production credits up for all these producers and movie houses to bring their movies back to California. Chris, you're just days away from being the next John Wayne. It's coming. Or John Denver.
The next John Wayne.
Or John
I
some.
could act as well as John Wayne.
You probably could. Even after your pre-drinking soccer hooligan stuff. You'd be just perfect in there. That music means we got to get ourselves together here and get out. Oh, I'm going to do this quick. So the latest professional sport to develop. It's in India, and it is called kabaddi. Anybody know what kabaddi is? It is basically grown-up schoolyard tag.
Is that right?
Yes. They have full uniforms. They have a professional league. These guys get paid. It's kind of like a version of tag in rugby, I think. But there you go. So if your kids, of course, kids don't play tag or dodgeball anymore on the schoolyard playground because they might get hurt. Let me tell you, until you've taken a dodgeball to the head a few hundred times, you haven't grown up. That's how my high school experience was, and that's why I'm on the radio drooling
That's right.
on a daily basis. All right, Johnny.
Let me chat real quick. Brockway Springs, check it out. It is on the lake and lots of value up here. Come check it out.
Is that a condo or a hotel or what is it?
There are a bunch of condos. I think there's 88 condominiums, 44 for rent. They're anywhere from a 1 to a 5 bedroom, overlooking the lake. Very nice. And there's actually a hot spring that runs and heats the swimming pool up to 96, 98 degrees.
Okay, we got 10 seconds left. John, thanks very much. That sounded good up there. We'll catching you guys next week. You can follow me during the week at jefftarbell.com or follow us on the Talkin Money Facebook page. We'll see everybody. Be cool. Aloha. Bye.
Talkin' Money.